Hello and welcome to the Knitting Traditions podcast. My name is Inga and this is my little knitting corner on the internet. It's somewhere in the beginning of November and I'm recording from the west coast of Norway where it has started to get quite cool, hence the very thick woolly sweater of the day. This is the Wilderness Sweater by Linka Neumann, also known as Aniknits, and I knit this sweater a few years ago. Now it has been released in her English book as well, because it used to be only Norwegian, which is a book with many beautiful colorwork sweaters. This is knit in alafosslopi, which is a very thick Icelandic yarn. I was really cold today. Now with this on to record for you, I am quite warm, so I am enjoying a iced cappuccino, and I hope that you have something to enjoy as well. I have quite a lot of knitting to show you guys. I know the lighting might flutter a bit because I am recording in the dark. It's already dark by the time I get home from work now, so we will just have to get through. I hope it's not too bad. I do want to get some better studio lights than I do have. I just don't know which ones are good, so I'm trying to do some research into that. Anywho, let's get into our knitting. I have finished quite a bit since last time. I was working on a sweater using piece fleece and mule spinner yarns, and I finished the sweater since last time. So this was a self-composed, that was the bag, a self-composed striped sweater. It's a boxy fit, slightly cropped, and then straight sleeves with a long cuff. The cuff and the folded neckline, which I did decide to sew down so that it stays, as well as the last pit rim or ribbing on the body were made with the mule spinner colorway. This one, which is a somewhat sagey green, and the other colors, I had 4 colors of piece fleece, and this is how much I have left of those 4 skeins. So I used most of the white and the rust because that's where I ended the stripes. I could have done another stripe of I would have done yellow and brown before the ribbing, but that would have made it a longer sweater, and I really wanted the look of this because I feel the croppedness of it makes it a bit more modern, and also I find it flattering because then it doesn't look as oversized as if it was an oversized full length on me. So yeah, I did not run out of yarn, which I initially was afraid of doing, but I had plenty. I did 8 rows for each of the color stripes. I really would like to make a pattern out of this. However, I don't know how to do grading, and I wouldn't be comfortable releasing a sweater pattern with wonky grading that doesn't really flatter every body type. But if you do grade professionally and you would like to help me, you could message me on Instagram and I'll consider maybe writing up the pattern for this if there is any interest. It feels really nice and soft, the piece fleece being the softest. I think that owes a bit to the mohair component, and both of these 2 yarns are woolen spun, which I found a joy to work with. So I think I'll be knitting with more bulky worsted spun yarns in the future, because it really was a lovely experience to knit this up. So that was one finished object, and now I can start wearing it, which I'm really excited about. And I have another finished object to show you guys. So I have been working quite a bit on my Shifty for the past months. I finished it and I sewed on a little handmade tag in the back to make it easier for me to try on. And now it's been lying a bit wonky after I washed it, but this is my Shifty. I used the recommended yarn for the background. I used Grumpy Birds in the Grumpy Birds colorway in, oh god, wow, why do I not remember their name now? I know their name. It's the recommended yarn. I used the colorway Grumpy Birds, and for the contrast I used the Nocturne base. The Grumpy Birds was dyed in the wool from Spin Cycle, and the contrast color I used was brown sugar or burnt sugar in their Nocturne base, and I only had 2 skeins of that, and you're supposed to have 3 skeins of contrasting color for my size. So what I did is I picked out some green segments from the Grumpy Birds, and I used that for the lower part of the body, and I just managed to get the right length for what I wanted. So it's a 3/4 length sleeve, and again the body is somewhat cropped. I tried it on when I was knitting on it to make sure that I was happy with the length before going to the ribbing, and I just picked an orange segment of the Grumpy Birds because that was my favorite part, the orange tones, and then I just made a ribbing length that I liked. I knit mine on 2.75mm needles for everything but the sleeves, which I used 3mm for, because I was told that small circumferences knit a bit tighter gauge-wise than bigger circumferences. And I also heard that the sleeves on this pattern were on the tighter side, and I have arms on the bigger side compared to my body size. So I did that. I went down a size, so I knit size 2. Size 2 has very, the increases are equal lengths apart for size 2. I heard that Andrea Maurer is working on altering a bit the increases for the other sizes as well, so that it's all the same, which is great. I had to go down a size because I couldn't get gauge, and then for the 4th, it's 4 sections of increases, I had just too much fabric, so I ripped that section back and did a 30 stitches less than recommended for the pattern actually. But then I picked up more stitches underneath here than recommended, and I think it worked out great. It has negative ease, it fits well, there's no really bulky sections at all, it's comfortable, and I love the color. So I'm really, really happy to have this bucket list project off the needles, and now I can just enjoy it. I did something new for this when it comes to my ends. I used magic knots to join the yarns together because I was cutting away segments a lot to save up the greens, and then when there were parts of the Grumpy Birds that were too cool toned for a longer amount of time, I cut that out as well. So hopefully it wears up nicely, nothing seems to have unraveled. I also magic knot together all the scraps I had left, so I almost have a whole, what would be a skein of the Grumpy Birds left over, although this is a lot of cooler tones since I used the warmer tones for this project, but I have now quite a bit of remnants from this project, which otherwise would have been odd bits and ends that I probably wouldn't have used for anything. So now I can put this into my scrap stash. So that was one finished object, a large finished object. And I have more. So I was working on a kitchen towel for the house when we were moving, just to have something simple to knit on. And I finished it. So this is I couldn't lay it flat to dry because I had washed too many things. So this was on the drying rack, so it has a bit of dents in it, but that's fine. It's a kitchen towel. I used, I think it's called moss stitch or seed stitch. It's knit over purl and purl over knit. So you get this, in my opinion, really nice fabric. I did a garter, no, I didn't do a garter. I did a sort of I-cord edging on both sides of this, which are created by slipping the last 2 stitches with the yarn in front on every row. And I'm really happy with how it turned out. I used mandarine petite by Sunscar, which is 100% cotton yarn. It's like a fingering weight, and I held it double. So if I fold this over, I can also use it to take hot things out of the stove, no problem. So now that I've shown it to you, I can put it in my kitchen and start using it. And maybe in the future I will make a few more. I haven't decided quite yet, but it would be nice to have more than one. I do like to have one of these by the sink as well to dry my hands off and everything. So maybe I'll make some more. I do, however, prefer knitting with woolen yarns over cottons. Just cotton is a bit more rough on my hand. I knit continental and there's no stretch in cotton, so it's a bit harder on the finger than my woolens are. And then I also finished a pair of socks for my brother. This was knit with some self-striping yarn commercial that I had in my stash, and I have knit a pair of socks for him, so he will be getting this for Christmas. So it has, my favorite part are the quite even solid striping, but it also has these bits of all kinds of stripes going on, which aren't really my favorite, but I think he's gonna love it. As long as it's warm knitted socks, he doesn't really care that much about how they look, I think. But yeah, I think he will love these. These will be put aside for Christmas into a gift basket. I keep all the things that I have knitted, it's getting warm. I keep all the things I have knitted up on a cabinet in a box of like finished things I made to give away, just so that I'm not tempted to use things myself. So yeah, that's where they will be going. I knit something since last time that I hadn't even cast on. My cousin and I, we went to the cabin and we went to a yarn store so she could buy some yarn because she wanted to knit those tøfler number 3 by Sunscar. It's a free Norwegian pattern. They're a pair of felted mittens. I talked about them, I think it was the end of episode 21. I did like an oral translation to English for those who couldn't manage to Google translate the pattern. And I was so tempted by some colorways that I saw in the store. This is a rauma, a Norwegian yarn producer. Rauma garn vams is the base, and it's 83 meters per 50 grams. So I got 4 different colorways, and I already made a pair of slippers and I felted them, and these are for me. It's a size US 38. So I knit according to the size. However, I cast on for the largest size, which was just 2 stitches more, so that I could have a bit of a higher edge here. If you've knitted this, you know what I'm talking about, but I cast it on 2 extra stitches so that this would be a bit higher, and then when you split for this thing going on here, I just decreased on each side to get to the right stitch count for the foot. And it turned out great. I felted them quite a bit more than I did last time, just to have them keep their shape more. I'll be less floppy. This meant that when they got out of the washing machine, because I felted them on 60 degrees, they were small but stretchy. So I forced them into themselves, because it's like a double thing that you push into its own. And then I dragged it onto my feet and kept dragging until it I got it a bit up on the leg as well. And then I put my normal socks outside to keep them nice and snug on the feet and let them dry on my feet for a while. But then that took forever, so I did take them off and just put them on my heated floor bathroom to finish off drying. But I'm really happy with these. They're a great addition to our home because the floors don't have heating in most of the house, so it gets a bit cold in the winter. So now I have a pair of felted slippers at home. And I have cast on, somewhere here, I've cast on in this color for my boyfriend. So his color will be slightly darker, more brown, while mine are rust. And then I also have an even darker brown and a light gray as well for some perhaps guest slippers, or maybe I will make some and gift. I do prefer knitting them for people who can try them on after felting them, so they get the perfect shape for their feet, because everyone has different kinds of feet. But I guess, I could just try them on myself, and then they will be a size 38, and I could give them to people with size 38, because it's not like they're super rigid. They would fit most feet, but now they're perfectly tailored for mine, and these will be perfectly tailored for him. So that's something finished and a new whip, which brings us into other whips as well. I have gotten a bit of progress done on this baby blanket, which is a gift for a friend. And actually the yarn started unraveling at this point. I don't know what I did there, but I did some emergency work. I tied it together, and I'm hoping to weave in these short ends with a crochet hook, and hopefully that will be okay. If not, I'll have to take another round with this and figure out what to do. And if it's not something that I can give away, then I'll just have to figure something else out. And yes, I've gotten quite a bit of progress done on this sweater, which will be a gift for, I think it will be a gift for my mother. This is the Vinter genser by Mohairias. She sells yarn online. It's a South African yarn. It's called African Expressions Love, which is a mohair wool blend. I bought this yarn from her at a festival last fall. I've already made this sweater in other colors, which were the kind of kit for this sweater pattern of hers. I know that people have emailed her before, and she has sent the pattern or sold the pattern to them in English. Doesn't hurt to ask. This is a beautiful yarn and a beautiful pattern. It's so thick and squishy and soft. This is a lot less itchy to me than alafosslopi is. I don't find mohair itchy. If you do, then maybe this yarn isn't for you, but it's just such a nice, lovely, thick yarn. And it's only using one strand, but because of all the fluff, it becomes quite thick. And I've been also holding a PT Concord effect yarn to give sparkles, both with the brown here and the gold. So I have like a rust one and a golden effect yarn to hold with it. So it's almost done. I just have one sleeve to go, and then this will also, if I can contain myself, go into the gift basket. Although I am really liking it myself, but I don't need to, or do I? No, I think she will be really happy to receive this, so I'll try and behave. Oh, and also the pattern tells you to sew the arms on, but what I do is that I put this arm, when I'm done with it, I keep the stitches on the needle, and then let's see how I do it. With the sweater on the outside or the inside facing out, I put the sleeve there with those live stitches on the needle, and then I knit it together with the body part, and then, you know, knit 2 stitches and then slip one over the other, and I do that all the way around, and it just creates a really nice edging, and also it is stretchy a lot more than if I were to have bound off and sewn it on with mattress stitches. So that's what I like to do when it's set in sleeves, that I knit it in instead of binding off and stitching it on. Yes, so one sleeve left, and then this one will be done. And last time I had received some lovely yarn from Emma from Woolly Mammoth. She sent me these 2 skeins to try. So this is gifted yarn. It's her new hearth base, and this I think is natural gray, and this color was called Rust, although to me it's more of a dusty pink. So I wanted to cast on some socks, and initially I was thinking to just do them all do an all gray pair, because my most worn sock are my rustic cable socks, which are all gray. I just really like gray socks. So I cast on the cuff, but then I was thinking, oh, it would be fun to just do a little bit of color work. So I did some pink stripes, and then I was thinking of just continuing in gray, but then I thought, no, that looks a bit weird. So I ripped back until those stripings, and I decided to do the pink sock, but with the gray cuff and color work at the top. So it's very simple, but it's still a bit intriguing. And I'm really happy with how it turned out. And it knit up quite fast. I used a 2.75 for the cuff, just because I don't like the cuff to be very cinched in compared to the leg of the sock. And then I also used a 2.75 for the color work, because color work tends to be cinched in as well. But then I switched to 2.5 for the foot and did that. So I used the exact same way as if I was knitting my rustic cabled socks, with the special heel my grandma taught me and a rounded toe, and the same stitch count the way I do it in that pattern, except that I didn't do cables. Instead I did a little bit of striped color work on the top. And I've already cast on my second pair, and I have finished the color work, and I'm now working on the leg before the rest of the sock. So this is a yarn that has no nylon in it, so I am really excited to see how this works up. It feels like it has a lot of spinning oil, so I'm looking forward to washing it and seeing how it softens and how it will wear. So yes, that was a new whip. And then I have one last whip to show you. I feel like I've rushed through this episode. I think it's because I am really, really warm. But I really wanted to record for you because then I can start wearing these new sweaters. So here is my last whip. This segment is sponsored by the Bellish App. I did a sweater using their app before and it's one of my most used sweaters, and they got in contact with me asking if I would want to do another collaboration with them. So to be fair and clear about everything, they are paying me to knit a garment using their app, but all my opinions are my honest opinions. This app is a free app on iOS devices, but I know they're also working on going into the Android world and creating the app for those. But they also have their online page, which has more than 1,000 free patterns as well. So when they contacted me, I really wanted to make a pattern using their app anyway, so I thought it was a great time to do so because I am looking into Christmas knitting right now. And I have two brothers. I have knit a sweater for one of them before, so I wanted to knit a sweater for the youngest brother, and I let him play around with the app and choose which kind of sweater he would like. And then I've had some yarn in my stash for quite a while, which I will get right now. So I went to Sunscar, I think 2 years ago, and they had a bag sale in their factory store, which was you could get as many skeins or balls of yarn that you could stuff into a bag for like $12 or something. So I stuffed a lot of this yarn into my bag. So it doesn't have a label, it's just a white band. From the way this feels and looks, I think it's one of their DK bases that contains alpaca. Which one exactly, I don't know. Usually these kinds of yarns that they sell at their store is some sort of yarn that they ended up not producing more of, or a colorway that went wrong, just something that just didn't fit the bar. So I have a lot of this yarn, and I've wanted to make a sweater for my brother using this for a long time. So he went into the app and he chose an adult, because you can do child, toddler, adult. So he chose adult sized sweater, and then he could choose between like a set-in sleeve construction or a raglan, and he wanted the set-in sleeve, which looks more masculine in my opinion than a raglan. One of the reasons I really like a raglan for myself, I'm a very tall person and my shoulders aren't like the most narrow, so I find raglans flattering on me. But for him, I think the set-in sleeves was a nice option, so he went for that. And I'm knitting it in black yarn, so I could have done an all over body pattern, like a basket weave or something, but I know that I will be knitting on this sweater in the dark months of the year until Christmas, so I decided for just a plain sweater. And I generated the pattern, so if you want to make the same, I did the set-in sleeves, adult, just regular body size, like not fitted or oversized, just regular, and crew neck, long arms, and for him the size small, and I'm doing the DK weight, which is around 22 stitches or 21, something like that. And I chose my yarn weight in the pattern because I made a swatch first, because I already knew what yarn I was going to use. So I made a swatch and then I picked the yarn size in the pattern based on my swatch. And it just immediately generates a pattern, and I have done the lower part of the body. It's the 5 centimeter 2x2 ribbing. I finished the ribbing and I am working on the body right now, which I'll be on Body Island for quite a while. He's a very tall person, so I will be knitting the recommended centimeters that are in the pattern, and then I'll make I'll make my boyfriend try it on, and then I will see if I need to make it longer because they're almost the same height. My brother is maybe a bit taller, and it looks a bit see-through now, but this yarn blooms beautifully when I washed it for the swatch, so I was happy with the material that this gauge gave me, and I just dropped a lot of stitches. So yeah, I'm working on the body. I'm really enjoying knitting with this yarn. I was a bit worried that it was gonna split a lot, but it hasn't, which is great because then I can knit on this in the evening as well. I don't have to look at my knitting if I can trust the yarn to behave. So I think he's gonna really like this sweater. He doesn't like garments that has a lot of fuzziness to it. He likes the more simple look, so that's why I thought this black colored yarn would be beautiful for him. And I think I have enough yarn left based on the size of that bag to make another one. So maybe I can make myself a sweater, a black sweater as well. I would really like one because I don't have one. I have a black t-shirt, but I haven't knitted a black sweater yet. So yes, that's what's on my needles right now, and I am enjoying it. I'm also playing around with the idea of making a mohair cardigan using the app. However, right now the only cardigan construction is the ones with set-in sleeves. And like I said, I find a raglan more flattering on me. So I'm hoping that they will add that to their database in the future. They are constantly working on it, so that would be nice. But for now, this is what's my main focus. This one and the sweater for my mother, so that I have a few gifts ready for Christmas. Having moved and buying a lot of furniture that we need, the wallet is a bit stretched, so being able to use yarn that I have to create gifts is a really nice way to get some gifts ready. So that is all that I have been knitting. And I also received a parcel yesterday, so besides the rauma vams garn that I've already started knitting with, this is my only acquisition since last time. So this beautiful skein right here is a skein from Sinful Yarns, or no, Sinful Yarn Co. That's what it says, Yarn Co. And this is a indie dyer based in the US, and they asked me if I would like to try one of their yarns. So I had a look at their online store and I really like their colorways. It's superwash, so this will probably be maybe a sock. It's the Fading Embers colorway, which I fell in love with. It's like a warm gray with some color flecks of almost mauvey browns, and I thought it was really beautiful. And this says 100% fingering weight, 4 ply, and so it just says 100% fingering weight. I'm pretty sure it's a merino base, but it doesn't actually say it on the label. So I'll have to look that up into that before I cast on a pair of socks, because if it is just merino and it doesn't have nylon, then I think I would add a nylon string for the heel or toes, or a silk mohair. I do have a pair of socks which was 100% merino that I paired with the silk mohair, and it's worn beautifully and it's really soft. So that's something that I could do as well. I think I have a perfect skein of silk mohair to pair with this. So that was finished objects and cast-ons and whips and acquisitions and all the yarny goodness for this time. I hope you are doing well and knitting all the things that brings you joy. It should bring you joy, if not, take a break for it. That's my motto, and also why I let myself have so many whips. And I will see you soon, and hopefully maybe a day with some actual sunlight. We shall see. Until then, stay well, stay happy, and keep on knitting. Bye.